Welcome. Some of these people don't need any introduction. In fact, all of them don't need any introduction because they're all really active as Parkinson's ambassadors. And I want some of them to tell their stories, well, I want all of them, to tell their stories today because they are really inspiring. I think we heard from Laurie just then that social connection, stepping outside of your boundaries, learning new skills, all of those kind of things are excellent for managing Parkinson's. And these people really have gone outside of their boundaries. So starting with Paula. Hi, Paula.
Hi.
Can you introduce yourself and tell us when you were diagnosed and how long you've been living with Parkinson's?
I feel like a deer in headlights. Hi, I'm Paula. I'm 54 and I was diagnosed, first symptomatic with Parkinson's with with a benign essential tremor when I was 19. And then I wasn't diagnosed until 25 with dopamine-responsive dystonia. Then I had a diagnosis at 27 with my final diagnosis with young onset. And then at 30, I got told I had the Parkin gene because I was the first person in Australia to have genetic testing. It was done part of research. So I've lived with Parkinson's for 35 years. And I'm doing well at the moment. So it's been up and down as Parkinson's is. A person living with Parkinson's knows that it's not a linear journey. It's very much up and down. And I've had 2 kids. Both pregnancies I had Parkinson's, and I just did not have any. There was no information out there about living with Parkinson's and being pregnant. All the research was being done on mice in labs, and so I had both pregnancies off medication. I've raised my 2 girls, one of which is here at the moment. Shout out to Greta and Max. And they're 25 and 22 on my own because my husband couldn't deal with the whole diagnosis thing since they were 1 and 3. That's been the beginning process. And now as I said, I'm 54, so I've been living with it for 35 years. I'm a relic in this world of Parkinson.
So if you look up on screen, you can see there was a couple of photos there from Australian Fashion Week. Paula, your childhood dream was to be a fashion designer, wasn't it?
Yeah. I started off loving fashion, and I went to the White House School of Design when I was first out of school. I did marketing and advertising as well. I wanted to go to university, but my parents wouldn't let me because I was Greek and they didn't want me to go to because I got in at Wollongong, and so I went to the White House School of Design. And I really, really wanted to do fashion, and I've always been into fashion. There was a period of through the time after I'd had my kids and trying to raise the kids and me being quite not mobile because of the Parkinson's, I'd given up my passion for fashion, and it's all come back now. So I love it. And my daughter's actually followed suit, not this one, the other one, the younger one, Mary, and she's now a fashion designer. So it's been a wonderful journey. And I walked Fashion Week.
You can see Paula on screen walking in Australian Fashion Week. The beautiful thing about 2024 Fashion Week was for the first time they did an inclusivity report, which was featured in Harper's Bazaar and in Vogue. And Paula, you were on the front cover of that. I actually think that would come up in the reel as well. And I remember being backstage because I was your dresser for the fashion parade because we had to dress her with the Vilev pump and things like that. But how did it feel being backstage at Australian Fashion Week as a woman with a disability and as an ambassador for young onset Parkinson's?
It was incredible. It was so surreal. I can't even believe I was there and representing people with Parkinson's and having lived it for 35 years and being able to do that was. I still get chills. And my daughter was running the whole backstage, and it was just an unbelievable experience. And it wasn't just me. There were other inclusive, adaptable fashion outfits that people were wearing representing different disabilities. It was just amazing to be able to represent that for people with Parkinson's. You'd never imagine someone with Parkinson's. And I wasn't walking great. I was a little bit dystonic, a bit tired. I had these socks on. From my gown was designed by Jordan Gogos and Akira Izuwaga, who's a very iconic fashion designer, but he's Japanese, and he made my socks, and they were really small, so Olivia and I were trying to put them on. But it was just an incredible experience, and yeah.
Paula, you did an amazing job representing people with Parkinson's and disability, as you can see, walking the catwalk. And I must say, having been there and saw it, I think it was an iconic moment for the community. And so I congratulate you.
Thank you.
Look at that strut, everyone. Geoff, moving on to you. Do you want to introduce yourself, when you were diagnosed, and how long you've been living with Parkinson's?
My name's Geoff Constable. I was diagnosed at the age of 48. I'm now 69. I lived with significant Parkinson's symptoms for 6 years prior to being diagnosed, and that was a fairly scary time for me because there was no indication of what else it could be, and you went for a lot of testing. And it was also a time when it introduced the secrecy, I guess, that we inherit into Parkinson's. I didn't tell my family I was going to have tests during the whole of that 6 years. I kept that a secret from them because I was too nervous to find out what it might be. And so on the day I was diagnosed, I was super happy. I actually sat there with a big smile on my face, and then I realised I might be giving this guy the wrong message about me being happy, a hypochondriac or something. I said, look, I'm not happy about having Parkinson's, but I'm happy I finally got a name that I can work with and find out about and start making life changes to be the best person I can with it.
You do a lot of work raising awareness, but trying to reduce stigma. Talk about the kind of things that you do, like the Birdman Rally has just come up serendipitously on the screen. Tell us about why you do that kind of stuff and why you think doing that breaks down stigma.
All these things, well, some of the things I do more than what you're seeing here, but that was never in me. It was not things I traditionally did. I didn't live on the edge. I didn't search for being Mr. Standout or Mr. Look at me. Even cycling, I learned how to ride a bike after I was diagnosed with Parkinson's, probably 2 years after. But initially it was about how do I improve myself? How do I feel better? How do I be the best person I can? And then soon after, probably a year or so, I realised that things are working. I need to share these with others. I need to encourage others to not do exactly what I'm doing, but make steps towards how they can do that. And one of the annoying things was I used to have to catch public transport to work. And, with a guy who's got really bad balance on a train that's packed with over 100 people on a carriage, and you've got to stand, there's a lot of body clashes. And, by the time you get to where you've got to go, 3/4 of carriage is looking at you like, we hate you. And you're sort of over-apologising to them. So it became, how do I draw attention when I'm doing these weird stuff and promote and encourage awareness? So you go to dyeing your hair 8 different colours, and that worked to actually encourage people to ask me why I've got that, and then that opens the door to, you're just about to get a 5-minute sermon on what you need to know about Parkinson's. And it helped engage others. You'll see the 100K walk. I did that 6 times with Parkinson's and for Oxfam. And in the end, I was walking with multiple teams, 67 people actually were joining me who never thought they could do it. So to me, that's just about promoting, yeah.
I love how you just said, I did a 100K walk with Parkinson's for Oxfam. 6 times. Thanks for that. That is bloody amazing. So your work is on breaking down stigma. I know that you're still full-time in the workforce. Are we allowed to announce that you actually got a new job recently?
Did I?
Are we allowed to talk about that you went for a new job?
Yeah. So,
I don't know if that was a secret or not, but hey, how good is it announcing it over the microphone?
One of the good things about my current employer, I mentioned their name.
Well, let's just leave it at that.
It doesn't matter. But they set up what they call the ACE community. So it stands for Acceptance, Connection and Empowerment.
Just a bit closer.
So they ask for employees to support people with disabilities within their company globally. So I put my hand up, became a champion for that. Started doing presentations for Disability Australia, and last year we won, through the work I did, the company won. I got the award for Disability Employer of the Year in Australia. So that was quite phenomenal, yeah. But when I was diagnosed, I was really scared about losing my job, and I won't go into why that was, but it was supporting a few years previously, supporting a person with a disability that went quite badly for me. So I wasn't ever going to disclose what I was doing, but because I was taking up cycling and doing a lot of work so I was asked to become an ambassador for a state organisation for one of their events, and they said, you're going to have media interviews, your employer's going to find out about you, you need to talk to them first, and also any family members. So I had to do that. So all of a sudden I was out there, but I still worried that they were going to make a decision, because that's what I was told. If I didn't leave work within 2 or 3 years, I would get the sack because you'll become unable to work. So save yourself the embarrassment and do it early. So that never worked, so that was cool. But I did have some lag with typing. I'm a CAD designer, so for texting and working keyboards is really difficult for me. So I delved further into the CAD system to get more knowledge, to make it faster and move quicker. That really worked for me. And I became in-demand CAD lead, leading teams globally and within Australia. But just recently this week, and I'm really pumped about this, I got headhunted by construction teams. So I mainly work in design groups. A construction company came to me and desperate to have me on board. They threw, I'll tell you, $40,000 extra above my salary, and so if you think there's no value in Parkinson's, you're going to be on the edge and not really be able to work anymore. Man, can I tell you some stories about how good you can be?
That is a fantastic story, Geoff. I love that. I love that we got to go through that this week with you, and then you got to break the news for us. And it was a really precious moment to have with you. One more question for you, Geoff. Tats, pre or post Parkinson's? Tattoos.
Oh, sorry.
Pre or post?
Tattoos. Post Parkinson's, of course. One of the aids of getting them was Cifrol, with the, hello, edgy, off we go, compulsive side of it. So it made it quite easy. I love tattoos. I love the philosophy and the imaging, understanding, the Japanese, why this. There's a lot of understanding about what things mean. But I could never work out. I thought it was too important. You're going to get stamped for life. So I don't understand why people go, this is a really good tattoo. I saw it in the window, so I got it on my arm. It's like, yeah, but you're going to live with it forever. So what's it actually mean to you? Because it's like clothes. What you bought, what jumper you wore last year is not going to be, it's not fashionable this year, so let's throw it in the bin. So I needed something, and I realised after I was Parkinson, I decided. So the first two tattoos I got was belief and hope on my forearms, because I believe those are the two words that absolutely get ripped out of you once you're diagnosed from the first day, and they're the words you need to win back. And then progressively, every tattoo, full sleeves and chest, tell the story of my journey with Parkinson's, and everything that's on me, it relates to Parkinson's, not just me, but the medical professionals. There's a big owl on my arm that represents the medical professionals never giving up on finding an answer, and that's what it stands for. And there's little red robins, there's a clock that's, the time is just past one, moving forward one step at a time. It's all those sort of things. So, yeah, if anyone wants to know what it's like, just check out the body.
Our next conference, I expect all of you to have full sleeves, okay? Everyone will just be like tatted up. Thank you. Craig James, excuse me. Former tele-economist, for ComSec, used to break down updates about the economy for us in a really simple way. Probably the first time as a teenager or whatever that I actually understood maybe parts of what was happening in the economy, and that was you that kind of started that, wasn't it?
Yes, our view was always it's the so what. Trumpy's done something, on tariffs. That's nice, but what does it mean for me? So what does it mean for my customers, my clients, my friends, my family, the so what effect? That will be this afternoon, yes, if you want further.
He's plugging his next session.
You probably have heard my voice, but probably not recognised my face, because a lot of people, when the finance is on, they're doing something else. They're making dinner, and they're not overly interested, and they hear this voice in the background. But that was a big thing for us at Colonial, State Bank previously, and then into ComSec. Basically, I didn't change jobs, all the time. The name kept on changing, so I went from Rural Bank to State Bank to Colonial to ComSec and Commonwealth. But it was a case that yes, we focused very much on sort of the practical elements in terms of finance. Now, my diagnosis was around about 3 years ago, February 2022. It probably was a lot time before that, because my sense of smell changed, years and years ago, and the stoopness and the gaze and so whatnot. My wife could tell, but she didn't say anything to me, because her mother has got Parkinson's as well. February 22, and I basically told two people at work and didn't tell anybody else, and I thought I could ride it through. But it became more difficult, reading a radiogram, just a couple of paras about what was going on in the markets. I was out of breath, and that's where basically speech pathology has come through, for me. But it's things like difficulty tying up laces, the drooling, the gaze, and the what. But I managed to get through, okay. I had the tremor, but in conferences, I basically put that under control, so nobody could see it. But I think probably the catalyst, about the coming out in around about June, of last year, was my sister, who is a nurse, and she said, "Is there something wrong with you?" And I said, "Well, if I had some sort of disease, what would it be?" And she said it'd be Parkinson's. And she said, "You got it spot on." From there, then I put a post on LinkedIn and saying this is what's occurred, and I thought but coming out was probably the best thing I ever did. I shouldn't have kept it as a secret because my boss was super supportive. All ComSec and Commonwealth Bank were very, very supportive. So I kicked myself that I didn't, tell them the situation, earlier. But when you're on television or on radio and you've got a bit of a stammer, you've got a bit of, different, movement, I thought, that would affect, what I was doing. But after that, I did retire in October of last year, and I've tried to keep busy, ever since in different sorts of ways. I actually yesterday was made the honorary caretaker, if you like, of a group of townhouses. So I have the big job of putting the bins in and out. But even dealing with the other people, in the townhouse complex, that interaction has been very, very important.
So we saw, obviously, AB Alan Border gave up commentating when he felt like his Parkinson's was affecting his work. But we saw that this summer he went back to commentating, and he thought he might cop some, flack for that people might criticise him. But I think people would have seen, like in social media and in the public, that people were really encouraging about it and they were really supportive of him coming back. So any plans to go back to our TV screens?
Probably not back to the TV screens, but certainly, I'll try and keep you active, wherever I am, and write a little bit more. Of course, writing stuff, is okay, I can still make, better sense, written than, perhaps, verbally, nowadays. But yes, it is a case of being active, spending more time with the family, now, looking after my 90-year-old mother-in-law, who's got the same thing, as I have. I also thought, well, so I've got to keep myself strong and whatnot. It's a funny sort of thing, finding it difficult to get out of bed, particularly, because I've been physically active, over time. And I threw myself into, trying to keep myself fit, and a year ago, I decided, that I would take up powerlifting. Now, to look at me, you'd say that's the least most somebody least most sport that somebody could take up. But I find the interaction with the other lifters. I find the goal that is set. Yesterday I had my training session with one of the personal trainers at the gym, and he's been very, very supportive, as well. I've gone to tournaments. Now, you probably saw on some of the slides that get up that I hold the national record in a couple of the things, a couple of the disciplines. Now, the disciplines are things like bench press, squat, and deadlifting, and they're the three disciplines. And I hold the national record for all those for CAPO, one of the institutions that does that. I'm national champion for my age group and for my weight division. Now that sounds pretty attractive, doesn't it? But it's a bit like Stephen Bradbury. There's no one
tell
else
everyone how many people in your weight category.
There's no one else in my weight category.
Look, I say we take wins. We take wins wherever we can get them.
But one of the last meets that I did in Penrith, the announcer for the powerlifting competition, he heard that I had Parkinson's, and he said to me just before I was about to go on and do one of the lifts that the first thing he's going to do is go home and tell his father, guess what, you're getting into powerlifting, because he is a similar vintage of me and could benefit from that degree of focus. But it has been very good in terms of the interaction with other people. with setting myself goals. A little fella like me can lift 150 kilograms dead weight, 80 kilogram bench press, and 110 kilograms squat, and I'm 67 kilograms.
That is very impressive, and we can use those skills when we're packing up conference later. Richelle, moving on to you. Can you tell everyone when you were diagnosed and how long you've been living with Parkinson's?
Just before I do, I just want to say that I don't know if you're familiar with the podcast called The Movers and Shakers.
Yes.
In the UK, and maybe that's something you should consider doing because they're all broadcasters, and one of them particularly has struggled with his speech as well, but he's still out there doing it. So maybe you can have a look at that. And I thought it was interesting you mentioned the exact date that you were diagnosed. I think a lot of people do know. I was the 21st of June. So I was diagnosed, let me see now, I'm 56 this year. So when I was 47, and I think I shared with people yesterday, I actually picked it up when I was 3 months pregnant through micrographia, but I had to wait until my daughter was born and breastfed before I could have a DAT scan to confirm it. That's kind of what led me to my diagnosis.
And then what motivated you to move into, like we obviously have seen you speak, what motivated you to, move into that kind of area of research about women and gender and Parkinson's? Was it a personal interest, or were you just looking through things being like, wow, this actually doesn't exist, this information?
I think it was because my own lived experience was that I noticed my symptoms got worse around my menstrual cycle, and when I have a science background, and I kind of thought, okay, a lot of women were mentioning the same thing. So when we did a survey, and 240 women globally reported the same thing, I thought, okay, there's something going on here. So I went back to the research and realised that, the week before the menstrual bleed, estrogen drops, and this has an impact because of estrogen receptors in your brain and affects your dopamine. So I suppose it really... one thing about Parkinson's, it's a very fascinating disease to research. I prefer not to have it to research, but I suppose back to others saying about, I kind of wanted to take control of the situation. And I suppose as a dietitian, I was the president of my professional body, and I did a lot of advocacy around improving access to care for people with chronic diseases, nutritional care. And I hid my own diagnosis for the first 2 years as I didn't have a tremor, so I was able to do that. But when I went to the World Parkinson's Congress and I saw these amazing advocates, and I thought, why am I advocating for every other condition? I also have celiac disease. I was on the board of the Celiac Society of Ireland. So why am I advocating, for my Parkinson's? And it was stigma, basically. I was afraid people would think that I was less capable. My clients would think I was less capable. My colleagues would think I was less capable. But then I thought, well, nothing's going to change if I don't talk about it. And actually, it was heavy load carrying it around. And I just, kind of thought, I'm going to change that. But the defining moment was I had a group of colleagues, self-employed dietitian colleagues, and we had a WhatsApp group. And one of them put in the WhatsApp, oh, do any of you see young onset people with Parkinson's? And a number of them came back and said, no, we only see them when they're more advanced. And I thought, okay, I'm going to have to change that. So that was my first time. I just said to them, I actually have young onset, and it's really important that you intervene, at any stage, any age with Parkinson's, because it has a really important impact. So that was my coming out as such.
Can we go more into your private life? So you have 2 children.
Yeah.
So first pregnancy was when you were diagnosed, and
Second.
Second pregnancy. Yeah. Okay. What's it like in terms of telling your husband? Having conversations with kids. Do they know yet? Have you started to introduce it? What have you done?
I suppose in terms of my first pregnancy, I picked up my celiac disease. My second pregnancy, the Parkinson's. So
don't get pregnant again. No.
So I definitely think there's, in my story, some kind of immune trigger there. But in terms of my son, I didn't sort of tell him outright. So he was 10 when my daughter was born. And I suppose I remember we went on holidays, and it was really shocking because obviously there's 10 years between our kids, so we tried very hard to have my daughter. And then for, her to be delivered with the Parkinson's diagnosis, it took myself and my husband a while to just adjust to that. And I thought it was important that my son, I didn't want to hide it, but what I did was I kind of left, I was doing a PD Warrior program actually, and I just left the manual out, and he kind of asked about it, and I said, I have this condition that I need to do lots of exercise for, and that's kind of, I left it, and but they know all of the advocacy they do, and I kind of feel kids are pretty good at asking questions when they need answers, so it hasn't been a barrier.
And what about with your husband? Was he with you when you were diagnosed?
He, yes, he was with me, yeah. I suppose when I went originally to get assessed by the neurologist, I was on my own. So that was a bit kind of okay. He sort of mentioned maybe the Parkinson's. Well, I kind of went to him saying, could it be Parkinson's, to be honest? And he thought that I was probably too mild and too young, and I was pregnant. It was unlikely that I had Parkinson's. But when I had the DAT scan, my husband was there with me. So, and it was really important that he was there.
You've already mentioned PD Warrior. What do you do to keep well?
Well, for me, I play hockey. So I suppose one of the things that I played international hockey. I have 21 caps for Ireland. And I decided to give up hockey, and friends said to me, why don't you, go back to masters as kind of, international hockey for oldies. And I thought, well, I don't know if I'll be able to do it, but I was surprised. I mightn't be able to write so well, but I can still play hockey. And I think that's one of the conundrums of Parkinson's, So I play masters hockey. I also have a dog, walk the dog every day, to PD Warrior. Rocksteady boxing I used to love doing. I need to get back to that. And also I do a thing called dopamine dunking. So that's basically, I did it to raise money for young onset Parkinson's people to go to the World Parkinson's Congress. So the month of my birthday, I jumped into the sea every day in Ireland. It's pretty cold. And raised €15,000 to send people to WBC. But actually, one of the things, I was kind of scared of the sea, and I didn't like the cold, and that's why a friend of mine thought it was a good idea to do it. But we still do it. And I have to say, the dopamine boost I get from it is
I've
amazing.
heard that people do get addicted to it, yeah. So there are groups in Australia of people that do it all throughout winter and meet at the beach and do a cold,
so we do
cold dive.
Every Friday at 7 o'clock in the morning, all the year round. But I would say one of the things that's really key is also we do it as a group. So it's definitely that connection. So it's back to what you were saying about, even doing the townhouses with the bins. I kind of feel with Parkinson's, it tries very hard to make your world small. So you have to do everything to make your world bigger. Because, connection, doing what you love, whether it's fashion design or, jumping off, cliffs or whatever, it boosts your dopamine, and that's really important because we still have dopamine cells left, so.
Thank you. I'm going to ask each of the panel one more question, and then we're going to go to audience questions. I want you to think about, and whoever comes up with it first, I'm not going to put someone on the spot, but if you can tell the audience one thing that you have learnt from living with Parkinson's that you think could change the way that they live or they think about Parkinson's, what would it be? You go, yeah.
I always say hope, dopamine, and love-a-dopa, love and hope. We all have to be there for one another and have the support around you and hope for a better future. Like, we've been here the whole 2 days, most of us, and we've seen all the scientific, research, the medical professions, people living with Parkinson's, how we can move on and move forward with a life with Parkinson's. And you just got to keep on hoping and have love in your heart, that love for yourself, and love-a-dopa and hope-amine. So that's my message.
I think you should design a T-shirt with that on it. I think that's, oh, I'm with your sister. Anyone else?
Yeah, I believe you've got to learn very quickly, or as quickly as you can, total acceptance, and that's not just acceptance that you have a condition, but totally acceptance to bring the condition and accept it as part of who you are. And the other thing is too, look at it in a way of, I'm starting over again. So dump all the negative ideas about what this is going to bring into you and start making choices about where you want to be and how you want to live your life, and start making changes to make those happen. And it's amazing. Everything I do, I would never have done before Parkinson's, because I would have used every other excuse to say I'm too old, too fat, too right, any excuse you like. But yeah, line in the sand, can do, try, find a way, and you'll enjoy yourself.
Yeah, I'm at the same ilk. I always say, look at me, if I can do it, so 67 kilograms at 63 years old with Parkinson, anyone can do it. So set yourself a goal and aim to achieve that goal, and you can do those sorts of things.
Richelle?
For me, knowledge is power, so I think it's about this, especially in the lack of services for people with Parkinson's. It's even more important that you are informed, that you understand what is going on with your condition, because the neurologist can only help you with what information you give them. And I think also there's a lot that you can do. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit that you can improve your life with by actually engaging and understanding the condition better.
And I know there's lots of people who've been asking me about the information coming from this conference. We are going to summarise everything for you. We are going to, edit the videos with the slides. We are going to send you out slides. We are going to put together summary sheets of what Laurie had to say to you today about changing diet and things like that. So we are going to help with that kind of thing as well. I'm going to open up to the floor for questions. Right back there, please, Tina. You got a mic? No. I might have to borrow a mic and you guys share a mic.
Hi, I'm Jen. Most of you I know on the stage, and it's fantastic to listen to your stories. When we're talking about the connection for here, a lot of people do avoid telling others. They don't actually connect with people with Parkinson's, so they don't get the benefits of it. Can one of you kind of say, what is the benefit of you found of connecting with people? So people go from here and actually look for that connection and the benefits, I have your opinion of that as well.
Hey, Paula, you've been probably an advocate for I don't want to give your age away, but the longest.
I've been an advocate for pretty much the whole time. Information is power, and there was no information back when I was diagnosed for the third time. So I had to reach out for support. I contacted my local, state organisation. I became part of support groups. I organised my own support groups. To this day, I'm still besties with one of my support group person with Parkinson's that I met back way then in our early support group. And back then we were the young onset Parkinson's, and everybody was a lot older than us. There weren't very many people with young onset Parkinson's. So for us, it was very important to stay connected in that sense, and then being part of this community of wonderful people that volunteer their time, because everything we all do is basically on voluntary basis. Through the years, I have to give up my job because I had to raise my kids by myself. So doing that as part of a community has been so vital, and just having that knowledge that, my friend Emma as well, we do a lot of advocacy work together, shout out to Emma, just to have that knowledge that you can say, I can't do that today, and you understand each other, or if you have a question, tweaking, whatever, you're there for each other. So it's very important to have that connection and to speak to other people with Parkinson's. So whether it be in a support group, whether you do a breakout group like we've done with my friends, or whether it just be a one-on-one basis, or just getting out there and talking to a few people. If you're not kind of the support group person, be involved in the community, be involved in research, be involved. I've been involved from Reaches from the beginning, or be involved with there's places, organisations you can go to and volunteer your time. I used to pack bags for, all sorts of, festivals like this. It's just important to feel understood and be, have the people around you that know what you're going through. And this is why this kind of forum is just, this is amazing for us. So thank you to Olivia and for everyone that put it on, because it's just been 10 years in the waiting.
Down with Natasha, please.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the panel for your great encouragement. I wanted to ask you about the question of stigma. I'm puzzled by that concept, and I don't think we apply it to other diseases, do we? And,
Geoff, I know this is a topic that interests you greatly in terms of trying to decrease stigma attached to Parkinson's. Do you want to talk about it?
Sorry, what was the question? Sorry.
Well, she said, is there the same kind of stigma for other conditions? When someone's diagnosed with cancer, they usually come out and tell everyone straight away, and people are very, sympathetic about it and start making you meals and bringing them to your door and checking if, the kids need picking up from school and everything. But does that happen with Parkinson's?
No.
Why?
No, I think the difference, and and that was a great example about cancer, because sometimes I think about that, but I don't necessarily talk about it because I think it's a horrible disease, and I was checked out before I was diagnosed with Parkinson's to negate that might be the issue. But when I think about it, and it is horrible, I don't want it, but I looked at it, and even something as horrible as cancer, when you're diagnosed or you're told that, you get the bad news, but they come with some positive for it. They say, we can treat this. The chances are you're going to come out with a good result, 85% success. If that doesn't work, then we can do this. But, big chance you'll go into remission and it'll never appear again. But when we're diagnosed with Parkinson's, you get told degenerative, progressive, don't have a cure, drugs aren't going to make you feel normal. At best, they're going to feel like taking a Disprin or, a pain relief for a broken leg. They're not going to, there's nothing positive to hang on to. And they don't even give you notification of who you can talk to for support, like the previous question. Who can I talk to? Because this is just, wow, life's over. Gee, thanks. Oh, by the way, take the prescription and get some pills. See ya. That's what I think the difference is. There's no hang on.
Right. So at Parkinson's Australia, we're trying to change that voice. We don't want that voice to exist anymore. We want to be a proactive voice and a positive voice. So thanks, Geoff. Over with Natasha, please.
Hi, Olivia, it's Harley. I'm really interested in this topic, and I've made a great study of it in the last 12 months, and I'm happy to provide you with some of the details. Brian Hurwitz from King College in London has written to me recently on the issue of stigma, and he's put together a significant volume on that subject, and I think we need to be able to deal with the 3 S's: shame, stigma and stereotype, because it's really one of the real issues. We've got to take ownership of our Parkinson's and bring it out of the closet, because I was a bit like Alan Border, 7 years, Michael Fox, 7 years, and I didn't want to tell anybody. But then after a time, I thought, this is ridiculous. Got to take ownership of it and bring it out of the cupboard and make sure, because we have to change it, because the society has actually still got stigma about Parkinson's when we've overcome the issues around HIV and many of the other cancer and so forth. So I really feel as though this is a very, very heavy topic.
Yeah, I agree. And we have to use the imagery that Richelle was showing from those artists in her talk about changing that image from the white old man as well into, younger people. I mean, Paula and I did an ad together 10 years ago for SBS, and I think it's probably the first time that someone saw someone like her on television saying, I have Parkinson's. And Greta was in it when she was little too.
Sorry, can I just add something to that? Because that's really important, what was just raised there. And the thing is, I hate the word disability because it brings on negative connotations. Every word that's got DIS in front of it is negative, can't do, forget it, bang. So I hardly ever use that to talk about myself. But the thing we've got to remember, if you're talking about disability, if you're saying we've got a disability, no, we don't. The disability for stigma and moving for us to live through the normal life, the disability is with everyone else. They don't understand, they haven't put in place the assistance we need to be able, the ramp's not there for the wheelchair guy. That's not his fault. The disability is with everyone around with who think they're normal. Yeah.
Down here at the front, please.
Hi, I'm Sue and I'm part of Paula's secret breakout support group. And we were the Southern Bells, or the Tulip Bells of Parkinson's, New South Wales. And at my first support group meeting, I said, why are we called the Tulip Bells? And the women said that they were the Southern Bells. And I went, I'm not a bell, I'm not a tulip, I'm a fucking bird of paradise. I'm going to the pub. And I dragged Paula to the pub. And so our breakout support group began. I
love that.
was a midwife, and when I was diagnosed, my kids were 5 and 7. When you get Parkinson's, you don't come out. It'd be easier to come out being gay than having Parkinson's because people don't know what to do with it. It's like a big bomb goes off in the room and then they say, oh, my mother's mother had it and Auntie Flo had it. And it was really horrible. You think, no shit, Sherlock. It's just ridiculous. And so with being a health professional, it is the worst industry to get diagnosed with anything in because people look at you sideways and go, does she have a tremor? Is she an alcoholic? And when I got Parkinson's, the best thing I did was I found there was a young onset group in Victoria called Young at Park, and they had a meeting, and the meeting was for people with young onset, and they had a lawyer come and told you how to organise your super and work till full time in your career because your super outlay is based on your hours of earning and you will do better working full-time than part-time.
Yeah. So we had that session this morning from the lawyers at 8 o'clock in the morning. Tina, do you have one more question there and then I'm going to close it off?
This is just a brief question for Craig. You've just become my new superhero. I took up weightlifting after getting diagnosed as well. And I'm wondering, calf cramps are really common in people with Parkinson's. So firstly, how do you deal with calf cramps when you're doing your squats? Because I find it really hard to do a squat and get down low because my calves are so tight with Parkinson's symptoms. And secondly, how do you deal when you're lifting those really heavy weights and you put them down and all of a sudden your tremor goes off the charts? How do you deal with it?
The med's been great. So the neurologist that I've got, the doctor I've got, the support group that I've got, they've been all very, very active. And the rock that is my wife, so has been super important, as well. But I have speech pathology for strengthening, vocal cords and swallowing, yes, and the like. And I do all that. I struggled to get out of bed in the morning, yes, sort of, and I'm supposed to be a power lifter, but yes, sort of, I'm cramping up and yes, getting. But once I start moving, it's right. You've got to find, I suppose, a coach. You've got to find somebody, yes, who can, yes, sort of teach you in terms of stretching, the right technique, and the like. But once you do have those resources, and those resources are can be found once you've got that, yes, a good coach, and know how to do it, yes, sort of properly, then you'll progress from it. So, yeah, that's basically.
Yeah, remember Melissa from PD Warrior was talking about practicing exercise safely. So, if you are, doing something like powerlifting, then it is a specialised kind of sport, and specialised, tutoring is essential.
And that PD Warrior is something that I've only just started. This hand doesn't move. It's basically like that. I did PD Warrior sessions, and I just started PD Warrior sessions. And after the session, the hand started to move. I could do more or less that on this hand. So I woke my wife up. I said, look, I can do that. And she said, go back to sleep. But for me, it was that aha moment, so that functional exercise is super important. So go for your run, do your strength training, but also do your multifunctional PD Warrior, because that will stimulate other parts of your brain to be able to compensate for the part that's not working very well.
Excellent advice to end on. Please join me in thanking the panel. You'd like to?